Today I will be presenting on Loonshots, How to Nurture the Crazy Ideas That Win Wars, Cure Diseases, and Transform Industries by Safi Fakal. The idea of a loonshot is a game-changing idea. An example of this would be Uber to the taxi industry or Airbnb to the hotel industry. In this presentation, I will be discussing some of the ideas and lessons covered in Loonshots, why typical company structure and culture do not cultivate an environment that allows Loonshots to thrive, how to manage the triggers that cause a transition from an environment that nurtures Loonshots to one that shuts them down and kills them, strategies to create an environment where Loonshots can ultimately thrive. Overall, I thought this was a very good and well-written book. The readability was a 5. Safi does a great job talking about history and different stories with different companies that makes it very readable and relatable and very interesting. The value of leadership, I gave it a 4. I felt that although he does an extremely well job of discussing the value of Loonshots and how a leader can cultivate that environment, that's really the only thing he focused on, so that's where I gave him a 4 instead of a 5. Scientific rigor, there's a lot of good research that went into this, and he uses some math and physics. He comes from a physics background, and it was definitely very interesting. Intellectual value, I gave that a 4. I thought that there's tons of good information, but once again, just focuses on this one area of cultivating these Loonshots instead of going deeper into leadership and different other aspects of leadership. Author's objectives in this book, he discusses the many factors that can negatively impact an organization's innovation, how to minimize these the impact of these factors on innovation, and how to structure culture. Structure and culture are both important for an organization. So when we talk about a lot in this book, what he talks about is why good ideas get killed. As a company grows, they often forget what got them there. Example of this would be Disney. They put out The Lion King 16-year drought till they had another #1 at the box office. Also, Nokia was an industry leader and didn't keep up with the times, fell behind a lot of their competitors, and now you barely even hear of them. So what happens is it's a change in the company dynamics that is now killing those innovative ideas. There's a change from these innovative ideas being championed and pushed all the way through to politics being more important. People are going to spend their time on those politics trying to look good for the boss or the boss's boss. Another thing it talks about is phase transitions. Just like how when water hits a certain temperature, the molecules change and it becomes ice. Or if you shake a carton of eggs full of marbles, you can shake it, have a certain level of volatility, but once you pass a certain threshold, those marbles are going to shoot everywhere inside that carton. And so when organizations hit a certain point where it no longer is in the employee's best interest to focus on those innovative Loonshot ideas, instead the energy is put on politics, that's when there's a phase transition. And we'll get a little more into that. So there's a certain magic number that Safi has come up with where this phase transition often occurs, but there are things you can do to alter that number. This magic group size or magic number comes from Dunbar, who was a scientist that's studying apes and their relationship with other apes, and came up with essentially a calculation of brain size to the amount of relationships you can have, and then translated that to humans, which came out to the number 150 as the magic number. An example in history where this number has been used, when the Mormons were forced out of where they were originally at, and they were traveling across the country, Brigham Young broke them into groups of 150, and that was an optimal size. They ended up having successful trips to their new destination. That's just one of many examples of the Dunbar number being used in history. So there are ways to raise this magic number. You can reduce the return on politics, make it not as important for those that are wasting their time in politics to truly benefit from that and more spend their time on these innovative ideas. You can use soft equity, try to help recognize those employees that are doing good work to their coworkers. It doesn't have to be financial, but using the soft equity. A lot of people, they just want to feel fulfilled at their work or recognized. You can increase the project skill set, make sure that people are working on projects that are best fit for them. If it's not the best fit for them, they're often not going to try as hard, they're not going to be as excited about it, and not going to be willing to work as hard on it, and it will not benefit the company at the end of the day. Bringing a gun to a knife fight is something that Safi talks about as far as hiring a CCO, Chief CIO, Chief Incentives Officer, or hiring a consulting company to help with that. Most companies have HR, but they don't have someone who focuses on just trying to make sure that they have the best package and structure set up for their employees to get the most out of them. And this is an idea that he's big on as far as spending that little extra money up front, but then you're going to have a stronger culture and structure company to continue with those innovative ideas, and it'll be set up right where people are going to not be as worried about politics, but be focused on these ideas. Also fine-tune the spans. Make sure that there's not too many 10 different levels of management, because with those increased levels of management, oftentimes people are going to spend more time trying to get to the next level, the next level, the next level, and just need to make that less important and more of a horizontal structure. Some wisdoms: dynamic equilibrium, support for all groups and teams. Example of this is Steve Jobs, when he was with Apple, kind of divided the company in two for a while, and they really were not doing too well, and ultimately left to Steve Jobs leaving the company. He later came back after he learned more about management and leadership and realized that dynamic equilibrium is very important. Also, don't fall in love with franchise mindset. There are small changes in each industry that need to be kept up with. If you just focus on that one big idea the whole time without looking at these small little changes, one day you're going to wake up and the whole industry is going to be changed. Structure and culture are also both important, so they need to be equally focused on. Some takeaways: be mindful of these phase transitions. When you see them coming, make sure you're prepared for them, have a plan in place, and know how to change that magic number. Organization needs to be structured to be supportive of these Loonshot ideas, and make sure politics are not at the forefront, but those innovation and just new ideas and continued to be a leader in the industry is very important. Industry leaders can fall from their high thrones. They forget what got them there. So sticking with your roots, making sure that's important, always checking yourself, going back, looking at what do we do, how are we looking compared to what were we doing back then, are we still producing these ideas? And also, there is a magic number for group size, but that number can be altered if we implement some of the tactics that were discussed previously. Thank you.